So now that we have to set up the development environment. If I were to start again from scratch, um, defining a development environment to work on, I would always choose something within a container or something that is really reproducible. In the old days, we used to use virtual machines, we use Vagrant, we use dedicated machines, we use containerized environments, we use a lot of things that allowed us to switch between different environments without any problem or without too much effort. So now I'm going to use Visual Studio Code with one of the best development environments that I think they have for developing is remote containers. With this, you are always coding against a container, and the container always has the things that are needed or the things that you describe in your configuration. It's really, really powerful, and the only thing that you will need in your environment is disk space because it's quite fast, it's quite complete. So, yeah, I am not going to go into the details of how this works, but you have to understand that basically it integrates with Docker and creates a small server in the Docker container and connects that with the Visual Studio Code instance that you have at hand. So in our project, we will need to have a Docker file, which is the file that is going to describe the environment that we're going to use. This is taken from the configuration provided by Microsoft template. I'm going to use the Java version 17 with Maven installed and Gradle, yeah, because it's there. So this is the Docker file where we say where we're going to pull the variant and which software we're going to install. And yeah, we can, if we want to use Maven or Gradle. There is set by configuration. And the other thing that we need is the container configuration file. This container describes the whole environment that we're going to have within our Visual Studio Code Docker container. So to summarize, yeah, there are a bunch of comments. Here it says that we're going to use the Docker file that we just edited. We're going to use the variant that is version 17. I'm going to switch that here. I'm going to use Maven. I am not going to use Gradle, and we may or not use Node, but since we are working on a library that is pure Java, I don't care. For the settings, we define a Java home. We define a path for Maven, and one interesting thing about VS Code is that it allows you to define some extensions, some recommended extensions that you would like to use when opening Visual Studio Code, and Visual Studio Code will suggest you to install it. And finally, which user we are going to use for coding, because we are not always going to use root. So yeah, that's it. So let's start code here. Code is going to open. My installation has a bit of an issue with dbus. I'm not going to care about that. But if you see, it identifies that we have a dev container configuration. And I already have this thing installed here. Where is it? The remote containers part. So I can directly go here and let me reopen this in container. So this is going to close the version that I had running locally, and it's going to start in dev container. Locally, I'm not using Java 17, I am using Java 11. And this is going to start a container which has Java 17 installed there, and is going to provide Maven as I specified in my dev container configuration, and is going to make this all available within this VS Code, Visual Studio Code environment that I'm working with. It's ready. How do we know that this is working? Well, here I have a bunch of things, but the ones that I like to use the most is the terminal. So here, I am here with the user VS Code, and I can just try to use the Java version, is version 17. And which operating system I am using here is something 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 Manjaro. So this is already running within the container and is working with Java 17. What can we do to try it? I'm going to do something dumb. So I'm going to create some folder first, following the structure of a standard Maven Gradle project. See, source main Java, and with this I'm going to create my app.java. Without any package, I'm just going to create a public class app, and this is going to have a main, and with this main I'm going to do a print line hello world. I can try to, like, I have to declare a package, so I have to put something here. Mm, and here I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to move this here. Yeah, no more errors. Let's running. And it works. I could do that from the terminal itself, but yeah, this dev container already provides some nice tools for doing this. In the backend, the Visual Studio Code Java tooling, as described here, installed in the dev container, is using Eclipse Java development tool. So even if we are using Visual Studio Code, we are using Eclipse in the backend. And it's working really well, it's working fine, it's integrated perfectly, and we're running in our container using Java 17.